Call this meeting to order. Let's stand and honor our country and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There's a couple changes to the agenda. We are going to be putting action items A, 7, A, E, and F right after our public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Open forum. Is anybody here would like to speak at all? Okay. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes, bills, purchase orders, investments. There's a gambling resolution for the Melrose Area Chamber of Commerce, resolution number 2020-50, designating a polling place. There's some donation resolutions. Donations to the Melrose Fire Department for amount of $5,000 from the Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits Charitable Fund towards to the department. Resolution number 2020-52, $1,500 from the Melrose Lions to the Chamber of Commerce for the kickoff fireworks. And let's see here, streets worker, retirement, EMT hires. But also want to just congratulate Romy Bertram for 27 years of service. He retired on the 9th, and he will definitely be very missed. So, can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. It is 6:07. We have a public hearing to abate nuisance to City Code Section 93-21.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. We've got one nuisance violation that we'll ask you to consider this evening. That will be Resolution 2020-55. When we had began the process, we had 3 nuisances. Two of them have since been abated by the property owners. We have just the one remaining. That's at 121 3rd Street Southeast. Background on this, Chief Mouse noticed that the nuisance back in August on the 19th. And again, we're at the problem here where we got, vehicles without valid plates and licenses. He followed up and issued a letter the next day, the 20th, notifying the owner that this constituted a nuisance and gave them 10 days to abate the nuisance until the August the 31st. There was a follow-up inspection, and then on September the 3rd, Chief Mouse issued a second notice to the property owner after re-inspecting and allowed a further 5 days until September the 12th to get the problem abated. Again, when that wasn't happened, we scheduled a hearing to present this to the council. The notice was posted as required by our ordinance on September the 22nd. And then on September the 24th, the owner was served by Chief Mouse with notice of the hearing. At my request, Chief Mouse went out earlier today and confirmed that the nuisance conditions haven't changed. Here you see conditions in August. And if we got the fresh picture, maybe not. Yeah, same conditions. nothing has changed. So the next step in our ordinance then is to come before the council and ask you to issue an order directing the property owner to abate the nuisance. If you approve the order, then we will go ahead and have that order served. It will, as our usual practice, they'll get another 30 days from service to abate the nuisance. If they still haven't done it, then the next step would be to, go to the St. Cloud and ask the court to issue an order that would permit the city to enforce it by going out and abating the problem, and then we could charge the costs of abatement as a special assessment against the taxes. So that's the background I have. You've got copies of the police reports and the pictures. Any questions from the council? Okay. This is a public hearing, so if there's any other persons that wish to speak on this matter.
Anybody would like to speak, you have opportunity.
Okay, that because unless the council has anything for me, I have nothing further.
Okay. Sounds good. It is 6:11. We'll close this public hearing and deal with this here pretty shortly. We are going to be moving around on the agenda for a little bit. 7A resolution number 2020-40. Tony will be taking this due to conflict of interest that I have.
Thank you, Mayor Finnegan. 7A, resolution number 2020-40, a resolution opting to increase the benefit level for firefighters who are vested in the voluntary statewide volunteer firefighter retirement plan. I think we have gone over this the last two meetings. Due to missing a council member, we were not able to vote on it without conflict of interest. Does anybody want to revisit what this is about, or do you, Travis and Justin, you guys feel comfortable with it?
What were we moving it to, or from to?
23 to 26, I think.
We're moving it from 2,300 to 26. It's a $300 increase.
Yeah, and that was still the 104%.
That was at
or whatever.
107% funded.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll make a
Sounds
motion to
good.
move it to 2,600.
Your motion, oh yes, your second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays, obviously, it's unanimous, so motion carried. Abstain. Motion carried. 7E. All right. Fire department radio purchase. Tom, you might all give us a little background on that too.
Sure. This year, we applied for the FEMA grant to replace the current radios that we have. We have not received notification, but that period has ended, and I'm assuming our turned down letter is coming in the mail, snail mail, most likely. So the current radios we have are 10 plus years old, and it's we're getting a lot of sending them in, getting them reprogrammed, getting issues. It's technology. We all know what technology is like after so many years. So it is in the budget for 2021 to replace 12 of our handheld radios, which I'm asking for tonight. The reason I'd like to move this up is as we received a $3,000 grant from Computer Financial, formerly known as AgStar, to put towards the purchase of these radios. So with that $3,000, the $5,000 that you guys, the donation we received from Coburn's, and then we also received $5,000 from the Big Birch Lake Association from the summer fireworks. So a total of $13,000 we would put towards the cost of replacing these or purchasing these radios. The quote I got from Granite Electronics, which is, it's a government bid, you can't go out and try to get it cheaper anyplace else. It was just a little over $31,000. So out of that $31,000, $13,000 of it would be coming from donations, and then the rest of it would be coming from our set-aside funds that we have in our equipment fund. And we are funded, and like I said, it's scheduled to come in 2020 next year, but with that $3,000 grant, I'm just requesting to get it moved up.
You just want to move the budget item up a year,
Yeah, towards the end of this year, yeah.
toward the end of the year? Okay.
So I'd like to place some, I thought about just getting enough to purchase the 3,000, which would be basically one radio. Purchasing 12 of them, a little more buying power, and maybe we can get a little bit of a discount off of that $31,000 price yet. I'm not comfortable with it, so I'm going to work the sales rep and see what we can do to.
Seems like a lot.
Do you,
$2,500
where
a
do
year.
these go? They go in trucks and then you carry them when you're on site?
Right.
or-
So what the game plan is we'll keep the other 12 that we have, so we'll have a total of 24 radios. Our 4 officers carry them with them in their vehicles with them at all times. The other 21 of them, I'd like to set up a thing that all the guys will have their own personal radio, so they'll have to keep track of their own radios. We'll have them sitting at the hall, so when you grab your helmet, you grab your gear, you grab the radio.
Oh.
So they will be removed out of the vehicles. Run into a few issues where you're either on traffic scene and you're doing traffic protection with one of our tankers. They don't have the handhelds in them right now, and so when you're trying to communicate to them or they're trying to communicate to you, it's a breakdown. So it just we're going to try this since we have the 12 old ones and they still work. We'll do this as a trying period, and if it's something that we want to continue with, then we'll just every year replace a couple, 2, 3, 4 of them until they're all been replaced. But as a trial period, I want to try this out.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the 12 old ones obviously aren't the most reliable ones. Like you said, you sent them in there to
Correct.
get fixed, so you probably keep track of where they are in your,
Right. Yeah, they're still,
Firefighting
I mean,
plan
we
or
still
whatever.
use them, structure fire yesterday with mutual aid from Freeport, and I mean, they still work. It's just, there's a few glitches here and there that we have to get them fixed or whatever. So they're not totally obsolete, but it's just, it's
They're
time.
starting to show their age.
Yeah, they
Right.
are.
all right. Action item, council give consideration purchase radios for the fire department.
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 7F, fire department has a tanker replacement in the capital plan scheduled for 2022. Fire Chief Buddy has received information that taking approximately 18 months to get trucks due to COVID-19. Chief Buddy would like to start the process now with the plan of receiving the tanker by May 2022. Tanker is estimated to cost approximately $250,000.
That's correct. I mean, you summarized it pretty good. Things are being delayed, and if we wait till the middle of 2021 to start doing this, now we're talking 2022, end of 22, or even 23. The one tanker that we plan to replace is our DNR one. That's, I don't even know what the year is on it, but it's showing its age. Their speed's not there. The tank on it, the welding is starting to give out. So this tanker's in the schedule to be replaced in 22, and I'm just asking if we can start the process, and we find out that, yeah, it's only going to be 12 months or 9 months out, good, then we'll hold off and wait till 2022 to actually replace it. But everything that I'm hearing in our industry is it's at least 18 months out.
Okay, and this is just soliciting quotes, obviously.
That's correct, yeah. I would solicit the quotes, get our specs all together, solicit the quotes, and then come back to you guys for final approval
For round two.
to make the purchase and see what we can do.
Right, okay. Council to give approval to seek bids for replacement of the tanker. Do I hear a motion at all? Justin, second, Travis?
Motion already.
Oh, motion second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And with that, Mayor Finken, I turn the meeting back over to you.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
See you guys.
Thanks, Tony. All right, we're gonna go back to reports. Coalition Great,
Yep, sorry.
okay. We're gonna go with the Coalition Greater Minnesota Cities presentation. If you'd like to step up,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you for coming tonight.
Oh, very happy to be here. It's been actually kind of an exciting day. Is there?
Yep, right here,
Was there-
Elizabeth, it's all loaded up. It's just, I'll introduce you, and it's just this great plate. So the next one is the first one. There you go.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Elizabeth Wafel, and I am a lobbyist with the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think most of you know this, but for the audience, we are an organization of now more than 102 cities. We've been expanding over the last several years. We work on issues that affect all cities throughout Greater Minnesota. LGA and property taxes are one of our biggest issues, but we also work on economic development, annexation and land use, transportation, environment. I actually do the environment work, and I'm very excited to have Colleen actually as our co-chair of that committee this year. We're going to do some great work. And also there's labor and employment work we do. You know, this has been a really, really unusual year. Normally I come and visit my cities every summer and say, hey, here's all the great things we had planned. Here's how we got it done. This year, obviously a little bit different. You know, we thought it was going to be a short session. We'd be dealing with a budget surplus and a bonding bill. Instead, you know, after March, no in-person legislative meetings, 5 special sessions, and potentially more. We had a surplus that has become a deficit, other battles that we weren't expecting, and I should have changed this slide. It changed, we finally did get the bonding bill done today. This, I don't know if any of you had a chance to be here, we're calling that the last normal day. That was our legislative action day. We had over 100 members at the Capitol, and little did we know that 2 days later, everything was going to be shut down. I think we were the last large sort of gathering at the Capitol before everything sort of changed. Goals changed, obviously. Our goal going into it, top goal was that, you know, large bonding bill, $1.5 billion with, you know, projects, with both local projects and some of the programs we cared about. We also wanted to work on changes to the LGA formula to make sure that it's incorporating inflation and population growth, build on our child care progress, and address PFAS chemicals. After COVID struck, we still wanted a large bonding bill because that continued to be important, but we also focused on other things like making sure our local governments were getting the CARES Act they deserved, addressing different child care challenges, small business grants legislation, and working proactively to protect local government aid. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just will mention that, you know, right after the COVID hit, one of the things we did do is pivot, and our labor and employment folks really stepped up, did a lot of work, sent out a lot of information, you know, created a website, did webinars, a lot of just things that we wouldn't typically do, but really to help make sure our cities could address COVID. Now, with the CARES Act, I think you're familiar with it. In fact, Colleen sent me a nice article about what you've been doing here. The biggest challenge there was, you know, the feds gave us all this money back in March, but no instructions on how much of it should go to local governments. And obviously, we thought that a big chunk of it should. The Senate actually agreed with us, but the House and the governor, you know, wanted to keep more money back and sort of have more optionality about it. So this kind of describes our whole negotiation process, but we, you know, joined together with some of the other city groups, and counties ended up coming in with us too to really push hard to make sure local governments got a chunk of that money. And we finally reached a resolution. Couldn't quite get it past the finish line in June, but the governor did agree to go along with our negotiation of $841 million for local governments. You know, and this is, again, sounds like you guys have done some great work with it, but this is where it ends up. And so not quite what the Senate had proposed, but pretty close. So we were really pleased with those results, but it took a lot of effort. Bonding. Now, this has been a really interesting journey. You're the first city I'm seeing since we finished this journey. But, you know, going into it, it was really important to us to have that large bonding bill, you know, money for wastewater, money for the BDPI, child care facilities grants, public infrastructure to support housing, and money for local roads and bridges. And, you know, and once the pandemic struck, it became even more important for us to have a bonding bill. This kind of gives you a little bit of a flavor of all the work. I mean, actually, I do the slides, and I ran out of space. We had to take some of what we did off because we have been working on pushing since last fall with the tours. But, you know, press conferences, our members have been super active, and we're really appreciative of all the action alerts, all of the reaching out to their legislators, and it all culminated in the last 3 days, getting a bonding bill, you know, past the finish line. And I haven't even had a chance to update the slide with what was in there, but, you know, a pretty good result for our cities. You know, some of the highlights, you know, water infrastructure is one of the biggest needs of our cities, and a historic amount being invested in that. I know some of the money is going towards your wastewater facility. It was also really important that we get money towards those PFA grants, because that really does affect our cities, both in terms of grants and low interest loans. If we wouldn't have had a bonding bill, you know, passed, we would have had a lot of those water projects, you know, screeching to a halt and having a lot of impact on a lot of our communities in terms of higher rates, polluted water. You know, we've got Bemidji up in northern Minnesota that's got chemicals in its water. It was really necessary for our city, so we're pleased to see that. Pleased to see some money for local roads and bridges. Always happy to see money for the BDPI. We were happy that they at least took notice of the child care program we presented. And that's a child care program much like the BDPI program we created, you know, 25 years ago. And it will provide grants, you know, to communities to help with child care. But
Elizabeth, if I can,
Yeah.
because I know what it is, but can you please say what the acronym BDPI stands for?
I apologize. We talk about it so much, I forget. Not everybody knows it. What BDPI is it's the Business Development Public Infrastructure Grant Program, and we helped create it. You know, it might be now 25 years ago. And what it does is it provides grants to cities in Greater Minnesota only, and that's a fight we have almost every year to keep it to Greater Minnesota. But it allows you to do things like build, interchanges. Some people use it to actually do water infrastructure, but basically that hard physical infrastructure that you need to do to, like, maybe bring a business into town, bring an industrial park in, that kind of thing. But it has been, I think DEED has called it its most wildly successful, you know, grant program, or one of them, and we've been, you know, created it, have protected it, and been getting, you know, consistent funding into it. And it has worked well, so we wanted to use that as a model for childcare, because, you know, a lot of our cities, almost all of them, are having childcare challenges, and the childcare grant program would operate in a similar manner, but it would allow cities to partner, you know, with nonprofits or businesses or whatever to build the infrastructure for childcare. We were pleased to see that program was created. It did not get funded this year, but, you know, sometimes you've got to take that first step. So there's some exciting things, you know, that happened in that bonding bill. You know, particularly, like I said, I work on the water stuff, so I was most thrilled to see that. But that hard infrastructure, you know, our folks need. And in case you're wondering, because of the timing, they're not going to be able to sell the bonds until next July, but they've got it set up. The way the Commissioner of Management and Budget said, you know, straight out told the House Ways and Means Committee on Monday, cities can begin using that money now. That they'll be able to, the way they, you know, cash flow it, you know, even if they're not selling the bonds, the way they've got it structured with some bond sales that are going to be coming up and have been happening. Cities that received appropriations, you know, if you're ready to go, you can start going. So obviously we need to wait for the governor to sign it, but I think folks are assuming that will happen. So is there any other questions about the bonding bill? It's kind of, like I said, brand new, haven't even changed my slides. I think I sent these to Colleen at like 10 this morning, and different developments. So PFAS, this is something that I've been spending a lot of time on and expect to be spending more time on. It's per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, and these are chemicals, forever chemicals. It's found in firefighting foam or old types of firefighting foam, Teflon, a lot of non-stick stuff. And the challenge with PFAS is that they're pervasive, they're found in water bodies everywhere in the state, and they've been linked to bad health outcomes. And we have concerns about it from two angles. It's a problem. The big problem is when it ends up in your drinking water. You can remove it from drinking water. It's very expensive. If you have any questions on that, ask Bemidji or some of the cities in the East Metro who are facing that. The larger challenge is for our wastewater facilities. They don't create PFAS, but it ends up in wastewater streams, and right now there's no good way to get rid of it. So we started hearing about this from our wastewater operators last summer and decided to be proactive about it. We actually reached out to the league to help us develop an initiative to basically try and tackle it at its source, trying to identify how it was coming in, what we can do about it, and trying to do education and other strategies for our wastewater operators. Good reception, but with COVID, that really just put a screeching halt on most initiatives this legislative session. So I did spend also a lot of time pushing back on bad bills regarding PFAS, and it will be a top priority for 2021, both on an offense and defensive standpoint. Childcare, again, it has been over the last couple of years, one of the things we hear about the most from our cities. We had great success last year, tried to build on it, tried to get money for the D childcare grants and money for the initiative foundations. We were excited that the House DFL, announced in their budget that they were going to put almost half the surplus to childcare, including our programs. But with COVID happening, again, all went away. Didn't mean we weren't working on childcare. Here's a little bit about what we did. The state did allocate some money to childcare providers, and so our goal was, again, to make sure that it's getting out there to greater Minnesota and working to try and address the childcare, challenges. And my colleague Scott's already working on plans for next session to continue building on this. Now, what's next? The big deal is obviously the budget. There was a forecasted surplus, which, as you may know, changed to a deficit. As soon as the original projection came out, we obviously stood up and made clear to the governor and the legislature our concern was about protecting LGA. There was a projection of, an estimate of a budget deficit of $4.7 billion this July, but we really won't know for sure until we have the November forecast. The one glimmer of hope I'll point out is that earlier this week, MMB did state that the economy is doing better than they had anticipated when they did these earlier forecasts. Tax revenues are ahead, so there will likely be a budget deficit, but hopefully not as large. But we won't really know until November. The question then becomes, how will they deal with it? There's been a little bit of a push to deal with it in special session, but that hasn't been happening. I don't see it happening. I think probably what you'll see is if we have a current biennium deficit, they'll be dealing with it once the legislature starts in 2021. And I don't know if any of you have been around long enough, but if you have, you may remember the last time we had a big budget deficit. The looming threat is, on allotment. They're going to go after LGA. And pushing back and trying to protect LGA will be our top priority for next session. The one thing I will say about, this now versus past times is with on allotment is that you can't, if you have a budget reserve, you can't unallot. And we do have a better budget reserve than we have had in previous, challenging economic times. And then LGA, again, kind of where Melrose is at. You may remember that last year our goal that we've had for years was getting LGA back up to that 2002 level. We achieved that last year. It's being done through a two-step process, as you can see here. And this year we thought we'd be working on inflation and city population growth, but it looks like right now our goal is, preserve and protect, and that's what we're going to do. Looking ahead, obviously, the election's going to have a big impact. The pandemic's going to continue to have an impact. Protecting LGA will be a top priority. I can take this next bullet off. We got that bonding bill done, and we're already starting to work on that legislative session. So, upcoming events. If you haven't attended one of our conferences, this may be the best chance you have because it's going to be virtual in November, and you can attend as little, want to attend an hour just online, please join us. Attend the whole day. But we actually had huge attendance for our July summer conference because of that. Legislative Action Day scheduled for St. Paul may change. We're really hoping to get down to Red Wing in person in next July. Want to thank you again. Really appreciate your membership. We're a group that punches above our weight, and the reason we're able to do that is because we have great active members spread across the state. That really help us get things done. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, we have a new website with our brand new spanking logo. So, thank you. And is there any questions anyone had?
So you hear different things going around. Do you see LGA being depleted from our area to help out the rebuilding of Minneapolis-St. Paul? Have you heard have they talked about any of that at all that you've heard?
Not at all. No, not at all. I think that that to the extent, yeah, I mean, honestly, that is the first time I've even heard that suggested. To the extent that LGA would be affected, obviously, again, protecting it would be our top priority, but it is set up on a set formula, and so the changes to LGA, you know, if there was any budget impact to it, let's say, you know, that the economy downturns again and they have to do something, it would be done on, you know, we're gonna take $10 million out of LGA, and it would basically ripple through to every city according to the formula. But yeah, there has not been any discussion about that.
Okay, good.
Do you believe that PFAS is a much greater concern than like microplastics in the drinking water?
You know, I am not sure. I would say it's more or less of a concern. And I'm not a chemist or biologist, so I can't tell you from a health standpoint whether it's more concern. I can tell you politically, we're hearing more about it. And so I have I think in the packet that Colleen sent to you, I listed some of the issues we've been working on and that we anticipate working on. I anticipate that will be an issue as well. It just happened because of what's happened in Bemidji and because of all of those wells that were affected in the eastern metro area. It was a hot issue, and sometimes, you know, at the legislature we have to deal with the issues that are a hot topic. And so that's why, like I said, I had to spend as much time on defense this year as I did on offense, just trying to make sure that they weren't passing crazy stuff. You know, microplastics is going to be a challenge because, again, it's another one of those things like PFAS. Once it gets in the water, we don't really have much we can do about it. And so it's really about how do you control the sources. And unfortunately, that may even be a bigger challenge. But it is something, again, I mean, if you were to ask your wastewater operator, you know, what are some of the top 10 things that they're worried about over the next 10 years, both of them would probably be on it, just because we don't know yet how to deal with it. And so it's trying to, again, make sure that the regulatory environment sort of is aimed at how you can actually solve the problem.
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, please just let any of us know. So thank you.
Thank you. Chief Mouse?
I don't know if this thing does go like that. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Our September 2020 numbers in the traffic area, we had 35 citations, verbal warnings 139, and no written warnings. Those numbers are a bit higher than normal. There was a substantial amount of federal money available for us to do DWI enforcement, seatbelt enforcement, and distracted driving enforcement, and our officers took advantage of all their days off to take advantage of that money, as well as the whole rest of the county did. So a lot of that was traffic related, and citations were issued, and people were given verbal warnings for issues. For the month of September in 2020, though, we had 452 calls to requests for service. Last year was 330, so we're up by 122 calls to requests, and part of that is our traffic related numbers. In 2019, we ended on ICR 3353. This year, 2915, so we are still down overall for the year. We did have 43 agency assists, which is probably about 10 or 12 higher than normal. We've been visiting with Sauk Center quite a bit. They've had some officers out on medical, so they're running short-staffed, as well as they have some newer clientele or residents over there that have some issues with getting along with each other and some mental health issues going on with those same people. So we've been going over there to help them a little bit more often, and I guess we're starting to balance out some of the favors they did for us in months and years past. Other than that, there's nothing that's completely out of the ordinary, unless you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. City Attorney report, Scott?
Yeah, my report, you know, we've already discussed the nuisance abatement. It's an ongoing project here in town. I also mentioned working on some revisions to the relief grant application. And just as a point of clarity, later in the agenda, there is an agreement that runs between the city and Stearns County so that those additional funds that the county has agreed to provide us, can flow down here. The agreement I was referring to was once we get that money, and then working with local businesses. Last thing, not on my agenda, I just thought of that when the representative from Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities was speaking and mentioned that BDPI grant. Some of you may remember that Melrose benefited from one of those. We got money from DEED through that program for infrastructure improvements when the Genio facility went in. So when we had to do some expansion on our utilities and infrastructure, and we were able to benefit from that program. So it's been helpful and good for Melrose. So it's good to hear that they're still funding that. That's all I got. Thank you.
Say, did you, what we had last month with that Mountain Rose Park, is there any updates?
It's, I don't think that anything's been done, and we're still waiting for confirmation. We have to go through and formally serve the defendants, and they're all down in Hennepin County, and it's a little slower than we'd like to get the job done. And I'm assuming that they'll delay for as long as they can. And so if we give them 30 days, then it has to be 30 days from service. If there was a delay in getting him served, they're not gonna sit on their hands. So,
Okay.
but we're watching it.
All right, thank you. Community Development Director report. Lisa?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is the list of building permits year to date. Our second quarter and first quarter was higher, our second quarter obviously lower. Third quarter is up now, it's 145% of what it was the previous year. So they're definitely increasing in permit valuations, but we're still down on the whole year-to-year comparison-wise. There's also a list of projects year-to-year for your review as well. The MATA board has been working very hard. They have finished the Small Business Assistance Grant Program. 23 applications were funded for $355,000. So that will greatly help our local businesses. We're encouraging everyone to remember to continue to support local businesses as they're working on recovery. Housing is another area that MATA is starting to work on, and one of the things that they talked about at their last meeting was that we not only need single-family but also multifamily housing. And one of the things regarding single-family that came up was the fact that it's hard for new developments to come in, primarily because there's been a shift over time. Previously, the municipalities carried more of the burden of risk with bringing in a new development, but that shifted both in how things happen and also on the policy end of things, so that generally the risk is held by the developer. So if you're putting in a new residential subdivision, all of the upfront costs for the streets and those types of improvements are all paid for by the developer, and then the cost is included in the lot. So if the lots don't sell, then the developer is holding that risk, and that's how situations like Daylight Court happen, because it's just really difficult sometimes to sell the lots on a timely manner. So one of the things that MATA discussed was the possibility of having some of that risk held by the city, who ultimately benefits from the subdivision occurring. And so that's something that the conversations have started as to how that might occur, and how we might be able to have some conversations with developers to that regard to figure out what kind of a middle ground is palatable both to developers and the city to ultimately encourage more residential development. Some of the focus would be on lots that are easier to develop. There's a few lots in the Highland Edition, or the Highland area that have been preliminary platted but not final platted. There's a few lots that could easily be final platted, kind of in some of the outlying areas that are just directly abutting improved roads. So those are kind of one of the areas that we'll probably look at first, but that's definitely something that's going to be a focus moving forward. Also, conversations occurred regarding the craft lot. The funding from the state expires June 30th, 2021. That's $643,729. There was a tax waiver. It was thought to have been extended, but the language that got approved did not include the proper deadlines, and so that has technically expired. We can probably bring that up again to the state, and it may even be able to be retroactive, but at this point we just have the larger fund of money to work with. Matt has suggested that we may want to do an RFP process similar to what we did previously, but not as restrictive, maybe leaving the uses more open-ended with the acknowledgement that it would need to be consistent with the downtown, and then noting that there may need to be comp plan amendment or zoning ordinance changes that might need to occur to kind of facilitate whatever the end use is. So that's kind of the direction that MATA would like to see things happen, is just to do a kind of an RFP with a little bit of a longer time frame. We had a pretty quick turnaround last time, and then kind of having it more open-ended in terms of the uses that might be appropriate. Obviously, that would be something that would be negotiable with the city as to what they ultimately decided to go with based on the RFPs proposals that come in. So that is what I have before you tonight. So,
All right.
are there any questions?
No, we should be good. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
City engineering report will be done by Colleen.
Who's got the?
Sorry.
That's all right. Mr. Nelson is not able to be here this evening, so I'm going to report on his report. The pavement management that he had talked about last month, the pavement cores that were approved by the council are scheduled to be completed on Friday. I think they were completed last Friday, weren't they, Gary? They did them. Yep, they did them, I think, last Friday, so we should get those results here pretty quick. And then they should be able to give you estimates at the November council meeting. The County Road 65 drainage issue that we have had ongoing for quite some time, we finally have somebody that will be coming out to make the necessary repairs yet this month on that. So that should be taken care of. The street improvements that we did Molly's Hill this year, there were two items, a section of sidewalk that were cracked and another section of the curb. We elected, if you'll recall last month, to just leave those until spring in case there are others that come up at that time. The final inspection was done at Casey South for the fence, and the fence itself is fine. It's actually, they did a nice job with the fence. The problem, there was a little bit of a problem in that as the trees get larger, they may be encroaching a little bit on our electric easement. So in the future, we're just gonna have to pay a little bit closer attention to that. It may be fine, but it's just one of those things we'll probably have to take a look at a little closer next time. The other thing that Casey still has to do is put up signs for the semi-truck idling of the engines. I think they are planning on putting up signs regarding that. I have had a couple complaints from the neighborhood about no semi-truck idling, so we are going to try and stay ahead of that. And then I've also gotten a couple complaints about the semi-trucks missing the turn and going through the neighborhood, which is a big, that's one that I'm actually more concerned about than anything. So those semi-trucks do not need to be going through that neighborhood. And so therefore, you know, they miss the turn, the first turn, so then they hit it, the neighborhood and come around. So that's something that we're going to be paying attention to. As Lisa mentioned, you know, the multi-site family evaluation, WSB had done some work for us on that, and we still have that information available for when we decide that we need to move forward with that. In the packet later on the agenda is a proposal to complete a feasibility study to alleviate the flooding. This would be on 2nd Street South and 3rd Avenue Southeast. It's a flooding issue that relates to the 5th Avenue storm sewer system. So it's one that Mike has proposed in here, and we'll talk about that later, about the flooding. We're not proposing to make any changes to that project, or that's not in our capital improvement plan until I believe 23. However, the point of doing the feasibility study is if there are other things that are happening, whether it's the storm sewer or the sewer and water in that area, you know, we need to get the sewer and the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer televised just to see what we have to deal with there. So this basically is just showing us what our options are. Even if it takes 2 to 3 years to get them done, then at least we have an idea of what we have to do there. So again, that is something that will be coming up later on the agenda. We have been meeting regarding the RDB project for a very long time. In fact, we still don't have complete approval, but we do have the Corps approval, which to us was a very big thing to get the Corps of Engineer approval. So just this week, WSB did provide us with some, somebody, I think it was maybe with Tony and Justin having a side conversation about one of the things that they're talking about in Sauk River Park is being able to have some nice gentle slopes down to the river so that it gives people an opportunity to fish. That's something that they are going to be planning as part of that project. They also, you know, I think the only other thing was the big river morph conditions downstream of the bridge. That's the only thing that we're waiting on right now. And that was the DNR. That's kind of the holdup with the DNR, so we're trying to figure that out. And then the only other thing is there will be a dam inspection that happens. I don't know if it's going to happen yet this month or if it's going to be next month. But the other thing that we need to do is we need to complete a document that says what the city's protocols are going to be as it relates to inspections. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything else.
We've got to have some sort of inspection schedule or what?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That type of protocol. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, from Mr. Nielsen's report.
All right. That takes care of all the reports. We are on to action items, and we will be that 226 Craft Drive Southwest. Craig, is that one taken care of now?
Yep.
Okay, so that one we will be mixing. Resolution number 2020-5, resolution ordering the abatement of nuisance condition located at 121 3rd Street Southeast, Melrose, Minnesota. Can I get a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. Second by Travis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let's see, so C is done.
Chief, is it safe to say that this party is trying to make some accommodations in this case?
They've made that comment, but there hasn't been
Okay.
All right. Okay, the Stearns County agreement,
If the city's in the process, as Lisa had indicated, we administered our CARES Act funds. The thing that I think is really important here is we received $276,197, and the county gave us an additional 82 something, I think it was, 82,500. So that was above and beyond what we had originally asked for. But what we need to do is similar to what we did with the township that gave us $18,875, is we need to do a Stearns County subsipient agreement that just, we basically agree to the conditions as outlined, just like we did with the township, that we're responsible for the CARES Act funds, et cetera, the reporting and all those things. So I am just looking for a motion, please.
Yep. Can I get,
Scott, it's safe to assume there's enough therefores and whereases in here and it satisfies you?
It's very similar to what you've done. It's more about who's going to be responsible, making sure that these funds get dispersed and apply for the restriction. I didn't see anything that would cause concerns.
All right, thank you.
okay. And before I ask for a motion, I just want to say thank you to Lisa and Colleen for all the hours upon hours upon hours of work that all of you have done. I guess Travis and I have seen it on MATA meetings. It's been pretty relentless. Numbers, have been going up with, the township, and then now this. It's hopefully it'll be a great thing for our community. So thank you for your added hard work. Can I get a motion to approve, please? Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, then now we're on to G, which would be the feasibility study, Fifth Avenue flood study.
Yeah, so as I talked about in the report, we have a scope of services for engineering services to complete a flood avenue study for Fifth Avenue. This is something that Mike has talked to both myself and Gary about. We actually had a call with him earlier this week on that. So as you can see, based on it, it's project management, it's background data, modeling, and a report primarily. So they are looking at $6,800 to complete this study. This we could assign to a project number, or it simply could come out of general engineering either way. It's we have a general engineering budget, and I guess I'm not sure where we're at with it right now, but if this were something that the council would want to proceed forth with, it would actually begin now, and it would be completed by January 2021.
And at some point in time, and maybe you don't know the answer, would the $6,800 worth of work be useful if, say, 5 years down the road, we were going to do some stormwater changes?
Yep, and that's why we're kind of looking ahead, I guess, or trying to be proactive, because, we've got, I think, Gary is our street supervisor, and Gary knows our systems very well, and he's got some really good ideas about how we could probably manage this, but we need to have sort of all the surveying stuff done ahead of time. And the survey work doesn't change unless we're gonna go out there and do major grading or change something. The bottom line is that the data that we collect today is really gonna be data that we can use over the next 5 years. And it's gonna inform our decision about how we design this project. Is really what it boils down to. What is the best alternative?
Pay me today or pay me tomorrow.
One thing I was gonna say with this project is we have a bunch of different options. If you're familiar with the Nathy ditch, the open ditch just south of Craft Drive, I think that's getting too much water for what it can handle. We need to either re-slope it or whatever. But another option, the reason we like to do this now is with the bridge project, if it's more feasible to run the water to the north, we could work with Stearns County to maybe have them put a line in from the river to south of Main Street, being Main Street isn't done in that area of the intersection of Fifth in front of Ilias. So if we know which way we're gonna go ahead of time, we could maybe coordinate with the county if we chose, it would be the best to go to the north versus to the south. We've had this water issue for as long as I've been here, where we get every downpour on 1.5 Street and on, by the tennis court on 4th Street, Fifth Avenue, where it backs up. The water actually pushes to the north instead of the south. And one of the options, again, if we have to go south, we're gonna have to cut Craft Drive open and put a bigger culvert in there. And we're gonna have to probably redo something with the ditch from Craft Drive to the interstate. And we need to know what our options all are. And again, if the bridge happens in 2022, it'd be nice to know if that would be an option that would be most feasible to kind of try to work with the DNR and things, because we're gonna have to dump right in the river that way. That would be the least resistance for water.
One way or another, something that needs to be done with it in the next 2 to 5 years, correct?
Yeah, the project's scheduled for 2023 after the bridge. We're gonna start from Main Street and go to Craft Drive.
So the study will occur either way.
Right.
Might as well get it done.
So it'd be nice to know all our different options, what would be the best.
All right, can I get a motion to approve that feasibility?
that
study?
motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. There's no old business, we're on to new business, notice of appointments.
At the council's first meeting in January 2021, consideration will be given to making appointments to the various boards and commissions. A notice regarding same will be published in the Star Post on October 21st and November 4th, informing residents that those interested in seeking appointment should submit their application to the city clerk no later than Friday, November 20th, 2020. Applications are available at the Melrose City Center. Terms expiring on the following boards: Planning and Zoning Commission, 1 member for a 4-year term. The person whose term is expiring is Dave Burscheit. Melrose Area Development Authority, 1 member for a 6-year term. The term of the person that is expiring is George Jensen. Melrose Housing and Development Authority is a 5-year term, and the term expiring is Nancy Roaring. So we need a motion to, nope, that's just for information, sorry. So that's for your information. Mr. Mayor, I may have not told you this, but I am gonna have to add 9C under new business as well
Okay.
regarding voting.
Yes. Okay, then that was a consensus on A, and now we're on to B, the holiday kickoff.
So the Holiday Kickoff Committee is requesting that the city of Melrose please consider making a donation this year. The committee wants to make the kickoff bigger and better, as many of the summer events were canceled. They are going to have a Ferris wheel, a merry-go-round, a lot more food vendors, and a parade, a raffle, warming stations, and of course, do they do fireworks? I think.
Yes.
Yep.
And they have a holidazzle parade.
Yep, and the Holly Dazzle Parade. So they are just looking for any type of donation that we would be interested in giving them. We did, our $2,000 that we normally give to Riverfest was returned to the city. So we did not put money towards Riverfest. When COVID hit and they canceled that event, that money did come back to the city. And we budget for Riverfest every year, so.
Okay, so we could probably reinvest that 2,000 that they didn't use this summer back into it.
Back into the holiday kickoff, if that's something you would want, or if you just want to keep it for Riverfest next year. But
No,
there,
we-
you have a little bit of
If we
money.
budget for that, I would say at least that, but is this something that, I mean, if they build on this,
Yeah, they kind of.
if we do 2,000 next year there, do we wanna, do we wanna do something like 3,000 this year? Take the 2 at 1,000? Or, I'm just throwing it out there, then next year, 2,000 can still go to Riverfest, 1,000 to.
Okay, so basically this year we'll do 3,000 for the holiday kickoff, but next year we'll do 2,000 for Riverfest and 1,000 we'll plan on for
Or
the.
something like that, I don't know.
Oh, that's actually a great idea.
Because, I mean, it's been growing, that November, the holidazzle thing in Melrose has been, draws a lot of people to town for that.
That's almost, sometimes it's more than Riverfest.
I have to agree.
All right, you guys, what do you think?
I can work with that.
Okay. Okay,
3,000?
sure, make your motion how you want.
I'll make a motion for 3,000 donation to the holidazzle parade, or holidazzle kickoff.
And also if we can just keep the notes on that for next
Yep.
year.
Yep.
Okay. So it's 3,000 for here. I have a first, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, first and a second.
Just a clarification. Ms. Colleen, was the 2,000 returned to us? Correct?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so then, all right, so we're actually just adding an additional $1,000.
Correct.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carried. C, we'll be talking about the pooling is Patty or is Colleen?
No,
gonna-
I will, Patty, I want to make sure that it's done correctly, so I'm going to ask you to just explain to the council, please, what has to happen because of the
Canvassing the election results?
canvassing the election results, yes.
Yeah, please go to the podium.
Patty doesn't like to do that either.
I know.
Okay, so then, due to a change in accepting ballots, because normally we accept them only until after November 3rd, it's complete, but the courts have now ruled that we can do, ballots can be counted 7 days after the election. And then with November 11th being a holiday, we will not get all of the election returns from Stearns County until Thursday, November 12th. So we could either canvass those results Thursday evening, November 12th, or Friday, November 13th. So unless the Secretary of State would extend that canvassing period, we would have to change. We talked about doing it on November 9th, but we won't have all of the results back from absentee ballots until Thursday, November.
So your question is whether or not we should have some staff, or whatever the procedure is, do it in the evening?
Yeah, we'd have to have a
Or wait
quorum.
till the following morning?
Right, I'll need a quorum to, what I do is I prepare a resolution with the number of votes for the local elections, and that, those totals have to be, you know, the total votes cast. And I won't have those results until Thursday, November 12th from the county, so we'd have to either do a meeting Thursday evening to canvass those results or Friday morning. Or I guess we could do Friday night too, but it's, you know, those are the two options we have.
So 12th would probably be
Friday morning?
That's, yeah, whatever time.
we
to
could
do
do
it.
an early, yeah.
Because it literally will be what, a 3-minute, 4-minute?
Yes, that's all you have to do is adopt the resolution I prepare that has the local
You make it
members'
work at
results.
6:30?
And
But I do need a quorum of.
could this,
I'll make
this
it
meeting
work.
be at 7 in the morning,
How about 6:30?
6:30 in the morning?
Yeah, let's do it on the Thursday, 6:30 a.m.
Can't do Thursday in the morning.
Friday.
It would have
Oh,
to be-
Friday morning, I'm so sorry, yeah,
That's okay.
Friday morning.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Patty.
Friday, November 13th. I'll send you guys a note.
Anyway, so.
I'll send you guys a note on that, okay?
All right. So by consensus, we made that work. So we're on the information items, ambulance department quarterly reports, utility commission meeting minutes. Unless there's anything else, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Can I get a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, meeting over.